Tuesday, everybody. T-Mobile Tuesday. Yes. All right, so today I am talking about a couple of things. One, I'm going to talk about value. And the other thing I was going to talk about, I forgot, so hopefully it'll come back at some point while I'm talking about value. Because there are actually three things, but I had just thought about them as I was getting ready for work. But anyway, value. Value is subjective to man, but, well, I should say this. There are two sides to everything. God's view, man's view. That's it. There's no other view. Man's view, God's view. And if we choose anything other than God's view, we're going to run into some problems. And it's difficult for many to accept this because there's this strong belief and desire and understanding that we as human beings are supposed to be creative and we're supposed to create life the way we see fit for ourselves. And that is absolutely correct. We have that option to live life how we see fit for ourselves. Now, this does not mean pressing it upon someone else. This does not mean making someone else live the way that we want them to live. That only applies per individual, point blank, period. So whatever view you have, that is for you and you alone. It's not even for your children. It's for you and you alone. But that's not how we live life here. Because man's view is, my view is the view that I want to be able to see everywhere. If I feel that Jesus is my Savior and He's coming to save us, or He has died for our sins and He's going to come back and you have to live life this way, then I want to see everyone live this way because I believe that's the right way. That's how most people live on the planet. They believe that their way is the right way. And so the things that I talk about aren't even my way. I didn't make them up. It's from God's perspective. And that's the only perspective that's going to bring you sustaining happiness and joy. Most people can't see that because the way we live life here on earth is we are always doing something. But whatever we are doing is bringing a moment of joy and happiness, or I should just say pleasure. And because we're able to do this by doing certain things, whether it's racing cars, having sex, drinking wine, partying, clubbing, it doesn't matter what it is, even working in the yard. Some people work in the yard and it brings them a sense of pleasure. Meanwhile, the reason why they're in the yard is because they're avoiding everything else around them. Hello. But anyway, when it comes to value, God's view of what is valuable is the only thing that really matters. And if we continue to hold on, if we do and continue to hold on to this idea, I knew that was going to happen, to this idea that, come on, so I can go around. There you go. This idea, what idea, Zachary? Because I was paying attention to traffic and lost my train of thought. If we hold on to this idea that man's way is the best way or my way is the best way, then you'll never allow yourself to be open to God's view of what's valuable. And it's everywhere. It is absolutely everywhere. It's in personal life. It's in work life. What people generally do is use someone else's definition of what is valuable. So if you do something that they see and they like, they may consider it as valuable because it's for a purpose that they believe in. It may not be a purpose that you believe in, but it may be of something. Okay, the big rig honked at the big rig. on this morning. Stuff going on. Over here. I know you try to speed up and stop it, but you know, we're not really having that this morning, sir. And it's interesting because I see it everywhere. You know, oh, good job. People feel good. You know, because now they feel they have value. But understand that if you are allowing, or if you are seeking someone else to praise you so that you feel valuable, you don't see your own value. You don't even know what your value is. It's impossible. Because if you knew what your value is, there's no way you would accept anyone else's definition or version of that. Ever. You can't. And it's interesting because on some level, even though I didn't recognize, this in yesterday's video, I said there's something, you know, I don't know how, you know, I come to be this way, and I said that God just made me this way. Even though I had doubt growing up, there was something within me that I always knew that whatever anybody else, whatever anybody, or when anybody tried to praise me, I would look at it like it's not worth anything. Your words, your praise mean nothing. They have no value. Because anytime anyone praised me for doing something, I thought because I did it, I felt I did a good job, that was enough. I didn't need anybody to tell me I did a good job, because I knew I did a good job. Because I knew my value. I knew my worth. On some level, I knew. Now, when you doubt something, it's a little different. Well, this is interesting too, because some people don't believe in themselves, and then some people, like what happened with me is, I felt that I was good at many things, and I felt that, and I didn't know that, I didn't use the word value growing up as a child, because that wasn't part of my vocabulary or understanding. But on a certain level, I knew that the work that I did, or the things that I did, were good. I knew they were just good, and there wasn't anything wrong with my outcomes when I did produce an action. But when doubt, later on, people started calling me know-it-all, and there was a doubt of my ability. Like, I knew it wasn't like I wasn't capable. It was more like I didn't feel I could express how good I am. I never thought that I wasn't good at something. I just felt like I wasn't able to express it. If that makes any sense. Now, that's completely different than someone feeling that they have no value at all. I always felt like I had something. I was worthy and value on some level. I just felt like I wasn't able to express it, and that's what shut down my soul. But it was always there, and I know it's different for everybody. It for instance, like the friend that I was referring to yesterday or the day before, this person is suffering from depression and really feels that he doesn't have anything to offer. This person has a lot to offer, but he doesn't feel it. And that's different than knowing that you have something to offer, but you can't say it because people will then, you know, downplay it or make you feel like it's not, or you're not worthy or valuable. That's the part that I didn't want to experience. So that's why I shut myself down. If that makes any sense, I shut myself down. Now, we all shut ourselves down, but we do it for different reasons. Some people really truly accept that, hey, I'm not worth anything, I don't have any value. And then some people shut themselves down so that they don't get the pushback. So that's the difference. But anyway, value is subjective when it comes to man. But when it comes to yourself, it's not. When you believe that you are valuable or you have something of value to offer, that has to be. It can't be anything else for you. Because from God's perspective, you're valuable 100%. More than you could ever know. I don't think the human soul will ever know its full value. Maybe at some point, but I mean, that's so far away. I don't see that happening anytime soon. The full value of your being. Because there's always more being exposed. There's always more being experienced and brought to the attention of the soul, no matter what dimension you're in. Each dimension allows the soul to acknowledge a greatness within itself. It doesn't plateau. So how can the soul ever know its full value and potential when there's always something more to explore and experience? How can that happen? I don't see that happening. Anyway, so how to get out of that? How to get out of that place of not feeling as if you have anything to offer? Anything you have to offer is valuable. Even if you were on drugs and you have a story to tell, that is valuable. To who? To someone who is possibly thinking about doing drugs. To someone who is possibly on drugs. You have to speak the truth no matter what it is. Truth is valuable. And if you hold truth, you hold value. Because you're holding an aspect of the Creator. You're holding an aspect of God when you hold truth. And this is why truth is the foundation for love. You can't have love without truth. Because if your life is based on lies, you have no love. Truth is the foundation for love, and without it, you can't have it. So anytime you hold truth, you hold love. And you will hold even more love when you can implement the truth. When you share a truth, its effect on you is different than is opposite of when you share a lie. So anytime you share an untruth, so sorry Christians, but if you're a Christian and you have a belief that Jesus died for your sins, and you don't have to do anything to change yourself because Jesus' death has basically washed away your sin. If you are telling that lie to your children or to anybody else, there is a darkening upon your soul, and there is a darkening upon the soul who accepts that untruth because it's an untruth. Any lie that we hold, and understand that every untruth is considered a lie because it is not the truth. It's unloving. So you can look at it as a lie, you can look at it as untruth, or you can look at it as holding an unloving something. But it's all the same. No matter how you identify it, it's the same. And that's I think that was one of the topics I wanted to talk about, is no matter what we, and I think I talked about it before, no matter what we call something, if God created it, it just is. The sky, we call it blue. It doesn't matter what you call it, it is what it is. And all the components that make up the sky is what it is, regardless of the label. An animal, a God's creation in terms of an animal, the creatures that God has created, they are what they are, regardless of what we call it. We can call a platypus, but it was God's creation before we even put a name upon it. We can call a maple tree, but the tree was what it is before we put a label on it. And so this is what I mean, is we have to accept God's truth. What is, and we have to accept that for what it is. Because if we don't, we're going to run into some problems. And this happens every time. Every time, all the time. It will not fail. It does not fail. It hasn't failed. All of God's laws remain the same. You can go back hundreds of years or thousands of years. You can look at history and see that we are on the same path that we have been on for thousands of years. Despite what we do on the outside, we can say that we are civilized beings, but we are ready to fight just like the folks in medieval times. You go to a grocery store, at some point you're going to see someone go off for some reason. So even in these medieval time movies that we have, that we can look at, back in the day when people were barbaric and they would argue over product or whatever, it's the same thing. Just because we're more clean, because our bodies are clean, and because we have technology, that doesn't mean that we're different than our past. We're the same beings. We are the same beings. We just have rules and laws in place and have created comforts that become our addictions that keep us calm. That's it. We're no different than our ancestors. We are at times worse than our ancestors because there's very little that people can handle these days, and even more so with the millennials. And that's a good thing. It's a good thing. It's a I don't even want to say it's a bad thing, but from man's perspective, it can be a bad thing. From God's perspective, the corrective measures are in place. That's it. In all of our unloving behaviors and feelings that we have within us, all the things that we experience, they're corrective measures. Because at some point it's going to get so bad where you're going to say, I don't want to do this anymore. Is that not the routine that we're on? Is that not the cycle that we're on? We do things to put ourselves in a position where we can't go any further, and then we're like, I can't do this anymore. How many times does a woman need to be beat by her husband before she decides, I can't do this anymore? How many times does a parent have to hit their child before they say, I can't do this anymore? A broken arm? A busted lip? A night in jail? What is it? At some point, we dig ourselves so deep into a hole to where we can't do anything but face what we've done and how we've gotten to that place. It's just the way of it. It is. It just is. And that's the part that I love so much, is when you find truth, when you discover it and you find it and you understand it. Because people are being hit upside the head with truth every day, but they're not understanding what it is at all. They don't know what it is. All they know is it hurts, but they don't understand why it hurts. Truth doesn't hurt. It's the acknowledgement
We found a faster route via California 110, which saves 4 minutes. If you prefer to stay on the current route, tap no thanks.
Did it stop recording? I don't know. Anyway. Yeah. Truth, it's not, it's the revealing of the lie that hurts. And the reason why it hurts is because we as individuals don't like wasting our time. We like to think that our time means something, has value, is producing something good. And when the truth is presented to us and we realize that we've been wasting our time on something and it hasn't yielded what we thought would be yielded, it hurts. For many things, there's a realization of not knowing the truth. There's a realization of being on the wrong path. And that's what hurts the most. Most people live by right and wrong. And people are devastated when they're wrong, which is why they lie when it's presented to them that they have been on the wrong path. People will just deny. Just like my friend, I said, hey, it's a bad decision to get on this SSI because you're completely capable. Yes, are you dealing with emotional things? Absolutely. But you are capable. All your limbs work. You know how to articulate sentences. You've been in business before. You've worked in show business. You know how to support yourself. You just don't want to. And you want someone else to do it. That's why that person wants to get married. They really want someone to take care of them. And since nobody's stepping up to take care of them, guess what? Now they're going to rely on the government to take care of them. Hello? Now I can see this, but since the person is in denial, they can't see it. I can tell you living on a limited income is miserable. Oh my gosh. You think you're angry now? Oh no. Well, I should say this. You think you're sad now? Just wait. Just wait when you do have some change in your hand. And you're able to do things, but you want to do more and you can't. Because that's what a limited income gives you. Limitations. And that's what you're accepting, limitations. You're accepting someone else's definition of a limitation. It's not even your limitation. You're now accepting someone else's cap for your life. And that's fine if that's what you want. But if it's not what you want, you're in trouble.
There's a 7-minute slowdown on California 110 in 3 miles.
I don't know what's going on here. I need to, 1 second. Okay, there. I don't know what I hit. I hit something and it stopped recording. So, anyway, it's just a bad decision. And they can't see it. And the thing is, this person has to experience this. Because see, the pain, the current state of pain, the depression, the sadness, that's not enough. It's not enough. Whatever is going on right now that this person is experiencing in terms of sadness, it's not enough. They need to dig themselves deeper into a hole until they feel so restricted, so constrained to where they want to do something different. But I guarantee, because I know this person, there's going to be a cry out for God before that happens. And maybe that's what needs to happen for that person. I'm not on that person's journey. So what's within his soul is between him and the Creator. And whatever celestial beings are around who can see what's in this man. But in terms of value, we are all so valuable. And slowly, I'm beginning to understand from God's perspective that value. Because it's one thing to say, oh yes, I have value, I can contribute to society, blah, blah, blah. But from God's perspective, it supersedes all of that. Yes, we can do these things, and yes, we can contribute from man's perspective when we can contribute to things that we have created, because we have created the system on earth that we are living by, all these laws and rules and how to interact with people. That's a system we've created, and we can be a positive contributing member to the system that we have created. And so yes, we can have value in that sense, but a lot of the things that we do on this planet won't make any it's not going to impact our life in the spirit world. Well, it will impact our life in the spirit world, because that which we focus on, we take with us. But when we die, most people realize everything I learned isn't worth anything. I can't apply it here. You know? So, some people may like working on cars, and they spent their whole life only working on cars. They didn't want to do anything else they didn't want to learn about their soul or anything else. So they know how to tune up a car, but do they know how to tune up their soul? Do they know how to do that? Do they know how to fix that? They have the basics, because if you're a mechanic, you have to understand how things work. And so you have to be very technical. And the soul is very technical. On a spiritual level, the soul is very technical. You just have to understand how it operates. That's it. You just have to understand how it operates. Now, some mechanics know how it operates, but there's no passion in it. They just know how to do it. It's a trade. I learned a trade. I don't really enjoy it much, but I understand it. So yeah, you can understand your soul, but the thing is, in order for the soul to be transformed, you have to put yourself in it. There has to be emotions and feelings involved. You, the soul, has to be engaged in the process. So it doesn't really matter if the person understands the soul, if the person doesn't know how to engage with itself in order to make that transformation. I don't know, music came on for some reason. So for instance, myself, I can understand all of these things, but if I don't put myself in it in order to do the work, I can't make the transformation. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about. Transformation isn't something you can force. And I remember trying to do this stuff just like they used to teach law of attraction. Focus, focus, focus. Think of a thought. Think of a better thought. Think of a better thought. Feel it. Think a better thought. Imagine yourself there. Allow it to come to you. Allow it to happen. My soul wasn't in it. My soul wasn't in it. It wasn't in it. I understood what they were saying, but at some level it was like, something's missing. Something's missing. And it's me. I was missing. They gave me the instructions, but the one component that needed to be there wasn't there. My mind was there, but my soul wasn't. I remember an old Facebook friend. He doesn't talk to me anymore. But anyway, he used to try to. He would break his head trying to figure this stuff out, because he got it mentally, he got it intellectually, but he wasn't engaged in his soul. And because there was too many things that he didn't want to admit, there were too many things he didn't want to acknowledge, there were too many things he didn't want to face, he didn't want to feel, he didn't want to believe was true. He didn't want to see any of that. And because he wasn't able to see that, he wasn't able to improve. And so he tried to create all the external things that, people like Abraham, Hicks and other people said to do. Find a quiet place. Write it out 20 times, 50 times. These are all, external physical actions. And external physical actions do not change the soul. It's your will that changes your soul. You have to be willing to feel. You have to be willing to experience life emotionally and without being controlled. You can't control the external and try to force your soul into it. That's not the way God created it. It's just not the way God created it. So it's not gonna work any other way. Like I said, there's God's way and there's every other way, because every other way is man's way, how man has deemed it to be. But that way will never work. It won't work. That's why you see miserable people banging bowls. You see miserable people burning incense. You see miserable people doing singing bowls or whatever, humming bowls, whatever those things are. You see people praying on their knees to the east. You see all of these things. But they're all angry. They're all angry. So the external things that you try to do isn't what changes your inside, because you're angry because of the inside. What you're doing, you know what? Oh, Jesus. He was putting on his glasses. So, yeah. Yeah, you cannot force your soul into submission. The soul is what forces the mind into submission. But you have to know that's where your power is. You have to know that the soul is powerful. And I guarantee you, for the most part, people don't even think about the soul. They don't know what it is. They have no desire to understand what it is. They'll use soul and spirit interchangeably. And that's fine for them. Their outcome will be their outcome based on them accepting or not accepting truth. If they want to accept what they believe to be, and the thing is, it's not, like, I get it, it's not hard to, it's not easy to discern between the two when you have absolutely no experience in discernment. When you follow what anybody and everybody has said, what experience do you have of discernment? The people who have experience in discernment are people who think for themselves, not people who just did. See, some people, they just do what people say to do. And when things don't turn out, they're like, I did everything that they said to do. They say that. I hear them say that. I did everything that I was told to do. They said do this, I did it. But you never use the discernment. And had they used discernment in the beginning, they would have realized all that they did, they really didn't want to do in the first place. They didn't want to do it. But because they ignored themselves and paid attention to everyone else. Why? Because they believed what other people said was valuable. Sure, parents want their children to go to school and become lawyers and doctors and engineers and all these different things. And it will yield possibly monetary things, but it won't change anything within that soul. And if you're doing it to please someone, because that's what you're doing, you're seeing their version of value, what they see as valuable, and you're buying that, and you're using that to live by, of course you're going to be unhappy. That's the nature of it. You have to follow yourself. You have to follow your dreams, your desires. And sometimes, as children, we pick the grandest thing in order to impress our parents, in order to be better than our sibling, in order to be better than others. They just do. And they're not happy though, because they didn't pay attention to what they wanted. What are you doing? They didn't pay attention to themselves. They ignored themselves. I've said it before, neglect has its consequences. And when you self-neglect, you're going to experience consequences. And the thing is, when you self-neglect, you neglect others. Because during the time you're during the process of trying to meet someone else's version of value, you're miserable. And along the way, you're going to make other people miserable. If you feel you don't have control of your life, you're going to try to control somebody else. That's the nature of it. Anybody who is controlling or attempting to control something, they are lacking control or the feeling of control in their own life. And the only way they can live with that is if they are experiencing a sense of control. And being that they don't, it's impossible for them in the moment to control themselves or to have any kind of control or stability in their life. They have to do it with other people. This is why you have an overbearing parent, an overbearing friend, overbearing boss. They're trying to compensate for a lack that's within. And they're not willing to acknowledge it. And some people don't even know it. People are bossy and they don't know why they're bossy. I know, I've been there. I understand it now, which is now why I don't give a damn what anybody does, because I don't need to control anybody, because now I have a sense as to who I am and where I am in my life. Now, it may not be where I want to be, but at least I understand where I am and why I am where I am. And that understanding is all a person needs to leave everybody else alone. Which is why I'm leaving everybody alone. Now I understand when someone's trying to control me, I get it. I get it. There's inadequacy. There's a lack of self. They don't know who they are. What is this little thing saying? Am I going... Hold on a second. I got the screen so dark so I don't get burning on my phone. I can't even see the map. Am I doing 110 or am I doing the 10? Let me see. I don't know what this is. Oh, Jesus. Okay, 110. It takes so long to pop up. So, yeah. So your value. You have to determine what that is. And the thing is, on some level you do determine what your value is. But on a whole other level, you're really just recognizing what God already has deemed to be valuable. You're just recognizing it. That's it. Just like I said, because it is what it is. It's already been established. Everything has already been established by the Creator. Everything. Every single thing. There isn't anything that hasn't been established already. We are in discovery mode. When we create something, it's already been established. We're just discovering our ability to do it. It's already been created. The only thing I can say this, I should say this, God created the potential for it. He allowed for the potential of it. There are things we do. We do create things. For instance, the fifth dimension, fourth dimension, third dimension, second dimension, first dimension, those things didn't even exist when God put man on earth. That did not exist for us. It wasn't until man started doing things his way or her way that were outside of what God had already created and intended. That's what created the fifth dimension. And man continued to create its own thing, ignoring all the truths, creating their own version of it. And so, a new version of life was created. Really, that's what's happening. Or what has happened and is happening. New versions of life are being experienced every day. Every day. Someone does something with their soul in terms of love or the lack of it, and a new place is created for them. Some people create for the first time because they reach that point first. Jesus being the person who created the seventh dimension, and eighth dimension, and ninth dimension, and all the other ones that are up there. But we're always creating, but we're really just discovering. God has already created the potential for it. Once you reach that place, once you reach that potential, something is created because you've already reached it. It's like a video game. You know, there are, how should I say? Before, like, I remember playing The Legend of Zelda. And when I first got the game, it was what it was. You know? And you do certain things and you reach a new level. And you have a whole new experience. And you reach another level and you have a whole new experience. And sometimes you stay on that level for a while. And you're exploring. You're exploring until you learn something, you figure something out. And then you get to the next level and you have a new experience with different creatures. And it's so interesting because the only two games, look, because we were so poor. We were poor, but, you know, my mother managed to do certain things and the universe allowed certain things to come through because our poverty was part of the soul condition, but the universe let certain things in. And there are only two games that I've ever really had, which was The Legend of Zelda and Metroid. That's it. The Legend, this is the old Nintendo games, but The Legend of Zelda was about exploration and moving up in levels. And that's what I liked about it, because it was something that I wasn't, it was exploring. I love exploring. I love finding new things. I love understanding, and seeing the lay of the land, if you will. And that's just it. And the same thing with Metroid. It was the same thing. You know, you have to explore and you have to do certain things and go to certain places. Even if it's hard or, you know, scary. And what I mean by scary is, you know, you keep losing your lives. Your little man keeps dying. You don't want to keep going in that because it's like, oh, I keep dying. But you have to keep going. You have to keep going. And that's the thing with life. It's no different than these video games. I don't know about the ones these days because everything is, I mean, it's no different than the old ones. It's still shooting and killing. It's just more glorified. But it's just, you know, that's the way life is. It's like when we don't have love, life is very difficult. to move up into, and there's certain things like without certain, like with these video games, there's you have these energy bars, and it's scary to go far, because if you don't have enough energy bars, which I would equate to love at this point, you can't go very far, and you can't do very much. You're limited. But as you grow, as you move up, you get more love, you get more energy, you have the ability to keep going, and you can make mistakes and it doesn't impact you as much. And that's the same thing with life. It's the same thing. Same thing. But because we don't know this, everything in life is presented to us, even in our own creation. That's why I said before, no matter what we create, God is always in it. Even in our own destructive creation, God is present in it. And there's nothing you can do about it. But when you realize this, you'll be so grateful for it. Because you can make any mistake, and God will be right there to teach you a lesson. Because in every mistake is a loving lesson imbued within it. And it's something that God has put there. And like I said, I don't know how God does that. I don't know. I don't know if it's the event. I don't know. I think it's the soul. I think it's the soul that knows how to identify things like that. It has to be the soul. The soul knows how to see something, to see that there is love in that. It could be in both. It could be in the event. It could be, in the actual creation of what we did. But why I say that is because even in these video games of death and destruction, whether it's Dark Souls or whatever it is that you're playing, there's always a lesson in that. When you're shooting and you kill something, you see life has ended. Now, at some point, that's going to click for someone. At some point, they're going to wake up and they're going to understand, like, whoa. It's just going to hit them. And there's just going to be clarity about it. There's going to be clarity. Because when you kill something, it is no more. But if you play these games from in a place of ignorance and not understanding, boom, 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 and bang, bang, bang is the thing to do. The more you kill, the better. The more better you feel. But understand, these are angry people. Because people of love would never engage in something like that. You get it? People who live in love will not engage in something like that. It's people who are angry, people who are sad, who will engage in things like that. Because a degraded soul loves destruction. People who crash cars and things like that understand where that comes from. Destruction. Destruction of anything. It doesn't matter if it's animals. It doesn't matter if it's things. Destruction is a result of a degraded soul. The environment, even someone who throws trash outside of the window of their car, it's the same thing. A degraded soul can only create destruction. Destroy the earth. Destroy the beauty. That's it. A destructive soul will, or a degraded soul will destroy themselves. They'll let themselves go. They won't take care of themselves. That's what a destructive soul, a degraded soul does. A degraded soul will allow other people to destroy themselves. Again, allowing for destruction. Whereas a person of love will try to step in and say, hey, look, this is what's going on. And after they've said what they need to say, and they let the person become aware of what's really going on, if they choose to ignore it and still remain on that path, the loving person will leave them alone. They will allow that degraded soul to continue to destroy. Self-destruct. It's the nature of it. It's just the nature of it. It may seem like a bad thing to people who are in this place, and they don't want to acknowledge that they are creating their own misery. Of course, these people are not going to, like hearing that, because then it requires accountability. We were sitting in, I was sitting in a meeting, our meeting, weekly meeting, and I wasn't floored, but I'm like, Jesus Christ. And I say things like that because there's a part of me that has an expectation. And the expectation is that the people that are in a position to do a certain task, that they be able to do it, that they know how to do it and be efficient in doing it. And I'm like, oh, wow. Like, I work with people who are not capable of doing the basic thing that they were hired to do, that they went to school for. There's this one person who doesn't say anything. They'll be talking about their client. Everyone else talks about their client, but they won't say anything. Because there's nothing to say. They have nothing to contribute. There's nothing to contribute. And this is on a deeper personal level, which is why it's showing up. Which is why it's showing up in their work life. There's nothing to contribute. And so now the question is, well, what are you contributing to the client? If you have nothing to contribute, and you don't say anything, what are you telling the client? How are you helping the client? Because the client's lost. If the client wasn't lost, the client wouldn't be in our program. I work for a program that provides intensive care. Intensive. You have a therapist, a case manager, a peer, a psychiatrist. You have a whole team. Obviously, you need some help. Some clients can't even go to the security office and sit in one place. They can't even show up for a doctor's appointment. You have to go and get them, put them on the van, make sure they, get on the van, make sure they get off the van, walk them up to the third floor. I mean, all these things are things that some clients require. And some of them can't provide that service. Some of them can't provide that service because they don't have anything to give. Some parents can't provide the love and affection and the guidance to their children because they don't have it to give. They don't have love to give. They don't have patience to give. They don't have concern to give. They don't have compassion to give. They just don't have it. I've said before, you can't give what you don't have. And so there is always someone growing up with a lack of something. It could be a lack of love. It could be a lack of comfort. Because that's really what money awards you, is comfort. That's what money is used for comfort. But not everyone can live in the state of comfort that they would really like. In the spirit world, you can have a mansion. In the spirit world, you can have a mansion. You can have more than one. You can have whatever you desire. You can have whatever you desire. So, for the people on earth who feel that being materialistic, and for them materialistic means having anything greater than what they currently have, that's what many people see as materialistic. But you're hurting yourself, because if you truly desire it, you can have it. And the thing is, if people in the celestial heavens have it, that's proof that God allows for it. There's nothing wrong with having bigger and better things. That's why I said my visions are big, my visions are grand. My desires are big and my desires are grand. Not grandiose, but they're grand. And this is something that a lot of people battle with, because they feel, I'm humble. They say that. They say I'm humble. I come from humble beginnings, and I never forget where I came from. And so they always hold themselves back. Never hold yourself back. If you're awarded something, enjoy it. Be thankful for it, but enjoy it. You have to be thankful for the things that you have, no matter how small you think it is. Because I guarantee you there's someone else who doesn't even have that. There were a time when we didn't have a car. We had to take the bus everywhere. There were times I didn't have my mother didn't have money for lunch money for me. So I had to go to school hungry. It was just, so when things change, I'm very grateful for it. You have to be grateful for it. If you're not, it will be taken away. It will be taken away. That's one way to teach humility. To accept humility, or feeling humble to the fact that you didn't appreciate what was given to you. It was awarded to you, but you didn't appreciate it. And since you didn't appreciate it, it got to go. For some people it's different. You're given a able body and you neglect it and you don't appreciate it. Well, guess what? You will become unable. All right, everybody. Know your value. Get to know your value. Learn your value. Know your value. I'm not going to say don't, but try not to use anyone else's version of valuable for you. Never allow anyone else's definition of value to be placed upon you, because sometimes what people see as valuable isn't value at all. For instance, you may be able to do great work and they say, oh my gosh, it's so valuable. But you may be doing it at the cost of your own desire. Some people do that. Some people want to do other things, but they're so hooked on someone saying, oh my gosh, you do good work, and they get promoted and they get raises and they continue doing the very thing that they hate doing. That backfires, everybody. It backfires. I've seen it. I'm seeing it play before my eyes at work again. These people, they want to move up, but they're not honoring themselves. And like I said, neglect has consequences. It has consequences. So they need to get it together, and they need to get it together quick. Everyone needs to get it together quick. But everyone has the opportunity and the option to take as long as they want. If they want to walk around in the hills for thousands of years, they can do it for thousands of years. If they want to accelerate and progress quickly, they can accelerate and progress quickly. They can move quick, move up, onward, upward. All right, everybody, that's it. I hope you have a great Tuesday, and I will talk to you guys later. All right, bye now.